Welcome to the Society's virtual lecture. It's with great pleasure that I introduce our lecturer for this afternoon. It's difficult to believe, but I've known Ahmad Emrage for nearly 25 years. We first met on the site of US Perides in 1996, when Ahmad was studying for an MA at the University of Benghazi and working with us as a student volunteer on the Society's excavations. This was the first of many seasons when Ahmad proved himself to be an outstanding student and a firm friend. I watched his career develop as a lecturer at the universities of Benghazi, Al-Baida, and Pokhara, at times holding all three posts concurrently, and as a much sought after tourist guide. Despite a crippling workload and a growing family, he married Alia in 2005, and they have 4 very talented children. Ahmad found time to work with us and help run training excavations for the university with his mentors, colleagues and friends, Ahmed Buzayan and Fouad Bentaha. In 2009, Ahmad was accepted to study for a PhD in Leicester, and this he completed in 2014. This was an exceptionally difficult time for Libya, and I know the problems at home weighed heavily upon Ahmad and his family. His doctoral thesis on Cyrenaica and Gassous is to be published by the Society shortly. Since his return to Libya, he has continued his university career, becoming head of the Department of Archaeology. In 2015 to 16, he helped train a Libyan team and then direct them in the field to complete the final phase of Professor Graham Barker's excavations at the Hawafter Cave. And after this, in 2017, he supervised the backfilling of the excavations. He has been a vital team member for the UK's AMINA and Training in Action projects, acting as a teacher and simultaneous translator. His work for other foreign missions has also been exemplary. These are but snapshots of his early career. Ahmad will pick up his story from 2019 and take us through to his present activities in the field. Ahmad Emrage is one of Libya's most talented archaeologists. I know he is fiercely optimistic about the future of the country and for the protection and dissemination of Libyan heritage within the population as an asset beyond hydrocarbons. I believe him to be one of a rising generation that will shortly take the lead in Libyan universities, in the Department of Antiquities, and we hope in stable government for the future betterment of Libya. So without further ado, I hand you over to Ahmad.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much for your kind words. So I hope that everyone will enjoy my talk today. So hello, everyone. As for those who I never met, and for those who may not know me, Paul Bennett has introduced me to you. So at the beginning, please let me express my gratitude to the Society for Libyan Studies for inviting me to speak to you today. This talk will generally outline my recent, current, and near future activities that related to the Libyan archaeological heritage. Firstly, I would like to speak briefly about my experience as an academic, as a Fulbright visitor professor to the USA, where I taught 2 courses at Oberlin College during the academic year 2019-2020. The second part of this presentation is a general account of the archaeological activities that my colleagues and I have recently conducted in Libya in cooperation with national British and American institutions. Generally, this presentation is a tale of an archaeologist rather than a detailed report of archaeological fieldwork results. I hope that you will all enjoy it. In chronological order, I should start off by talking about my academic experience at Oberlin College. After that, I will move on to speak about the training excavations that I have supervised with colleagues from the Department of Archaeology in Muhammad bin Ali Sanusi University. Namely, the other project that I would like to speak about today is the evaluation trenches that the Department of Antiquity of Benghazi have conducted at the site of Hesperus, the Greek city of Benghazi. After that, I will move to speak about the Cyrenaica coastal survey which is a cooperative project between the Department of Antiquity of Libya at the east and Maritime Indigenous Archaeology, sponsored by Arcadia and other, and managed by Southampton and Leicester universities. And last but not least, I will speak about my work with the American Society of Overseas Research, ASOR, known as ASOR, since January 2020. Okay, let's first go to Oberlin. In coordination with the United States Department for Fulbright Scholar Residency Program, Oberlin College, thanks to Professor Susan Kane, has kindly invited me to be a visiting scholar resident in the Department of Art and Classics for the academic year 2019-2020. In the first semester, in the fall of 2019, I taught a course about Libyan archaeological heritage titled Cultural Heritage at Risk in Libya, a working archaeologist's perspective. In this course, after a general rehabilitation of the Libyan cultural heritage, I discussed the types of threats this heritage is facing and how archaeologists in Libya are working with international organizations to identify, monitor, and mitigate the damage and looting of this heritage. Efforts to raise awareness of the importance of this cultural heritage among the local population have also been discussed in this course. In the second semester, I offered a course titled Preserving Cultural and Heritage, Past, Present, and the Future, where in a series of global case studies, I discussed the challenges faced in the 21st century to create management and preservation strategies in order to protect our cultural inheritance. In order to highlight the importance of the Libyan archaeological heritage, I started the first course by giving a series of lectures about the Libyan history and archaeological heritage sites from prehistory until the Italian period. The second part of the course focused on the natural and the human factors that damaging and threaten this remarkable heritage by presenting some examples from different regions of the country. Efforts made by local authorities, civil society organizations, and international heritage-related institutions and organizations to protect the Libyan cultural heritage have been presented and evaluated in the last part of the course. My students, as you can see in these two photos, have shown a great interest in the class by giving a group of individual presentations about Libyan archaeological heritage. They were great students. I really miss them. Guest speakers. In both semesters, it was great to have wonderful guest speakers. In the first semester, my students and I were lucky having Professor Susan Kane in the class talking about the activities of the American archaeological mission to Libya, particularly the recent ones. In the second semester, Oberlin College and my class have been honored by the visit of my dear friend and brother, Professor Paul Bennett of Canterbury, who kindly gave two lectures there. The first was a public one where he talked about the discovery of the Dover boat. This lecture was a good opportunity for my students to learn how such a discovery should be recovered, preserved, present, and managed. In the second lecture, Paul spoke about his work history in Libya since 1970s until 2018. Since the middle of March, we had to teach online due to the pandemic. It was a big challenge for me and my family. However, during this difficult time, we had a great support from some colleagues, and I have great support from some colleagues such as Morgan Bilzich of Paris, who gave my class an online lecture about his research on the illicit trafficking of Libyan antiquities. And Guy Hopkinson from UCL, who spoke over Zoom to my students about the use of photogrammetry in archaeology. In January 2021, the External Office at the American Embassy to Libya, LEO, has kindly granted me and my family a visit to Washington, D.C. area, where I had a number of meetings and talks about Libyan cultural heritage. During that week, I gave a lecture at ASOR, American Society of Overseas Research Office in Alexandria area in Washington, D.C. area. This lecture was attended by ladies and gentlemen from the Department of State and colleagues from ASOR. And as you can see here, we are sitting in the ASOR office in Washington, D.C. area. The lecture that I gave was about the Libyan archaeological heritage, focusing on threats and damages. At the National Endowment of Humanities, I met Christopher Thornton, Mary Downs, and Sarah Levinsky. And of course, it was accompanied by the Executive Director of ASOR, Dr. Andrew Vaughan. Meeting at the Council for the American Overseas Research Center also took place in the visit, where I met the director, Glenn Probett, who was in the middle here between me and Andrew Vaughan. In all of these visits, we discussed together the situation of the Libyan cultural heritage and how the American institutions and organizations can help to protect our great heritage. On this occasion, please let me know to thank Dr. Andrew Vaughan, the Executive Director of ASOR, for organizing this trip and made it a wonderful one. He took us on a tour, my family and I, on a tour to a number of the Washington, D.C. area museums and attractions. And his family's generosity is highly appreciated. We had a great time together in that area. And as you can see here, we are here in a tour to the George Washington's Mount Vernon with his lovely daughter, Avital. And here's Andrew Vaughan with my family and his daughter at the Space Museum in Washington. Thank you so much, Andy. Despite the pandemic, our time in the US is unforgettable. My family and I had a great time there. We felt like home as we have been surrounded by wonderful people. Susan Kane, Sam, and their extended families have been our families. Their support and generosity made our stay there as wonderful as it could be. My wife, Alia, and our 4 daughters have actively engaged in the community. My wife did some volunteer work, such as volunteering to sit with and support a resident of the Elderly Center in Oberlin and participate in some activities in our daughter's school and others. The girls enjoyed their time in school. Lubna wrote a poem about Benghazi and recited it at a cultural event in Oberlin. As you can see here, we had also fresh American fish, as well as you can see Hala here, happy catching fish from a lake in Oberlin. And here we can see Nada celebrating the Halloween, waiting for children from the neighborhood to have some sweets from here. Okay, there's a lot to say about our visit to the United States of America, but it's time to go back home. So we have safely arrived at Benghazi in August 2020 after a long journey. And we had to stay for 2 weeks, guaranteed in a fancy hotel in Tripoli. Then we had to travel overland from Tripoli to Benghazi, crossing over 1,000 kilometers rather than usual due to the security reason at that time and the closure of the coastal road. And that we hope that it will reopen soon. The beginning of my activities since my return from the United States was at the World Health site of Cyrenaica, where I supervised with colleagues from the Department of Archaeology in the Mohammed bin Ali Sanusi University, training excavations in a site located just to the east of the Byzantine kilns, as you can see in this map in Cyrenaica. This excavations, the place of the excavation has been chosen by the Department of Antiquity for us. Our work coincides with the work that has been conducted by the team from the restoration office at Department of Antiquity at Cyrenaica. The team was trying to find the ancient channels that Greek and Roman used to drain the rainwater in an attempt from them to protect the site from the accumulated winter rainwater in the site. And they have managed to do that, and they have done a great job. The restoration team recovered in their work while they're cleaning the area some water tanks cut in the natural rock located beneath the slabs that covered the tanks and paved the street, the Roman street running from the Fountain of Apollo to the south. Our excavations covered a rectangular area, measures some 6 meters. As indicated by some published photos from the early 1930s, it seems that the site had partly been excavated by Italians during some restorations work. They conducted in the site at that time a few number of pits that were cut in some stones and in the ground to stabilize the scaffolds that were used in the support and restoration work was uncovered in our excavations. Other indications of the modern use of the site by the Italians archaeologists is proved by the revealing of a cement floor, as you can see here in this picture, and some other modern finds such as nails, plastic tags, etc. It's obvious that the site had at least 4 phases. The earliest phase, that probably dating back to the early Greek period, represented in the use of the site as a stone quarry, as shown in this photo here. The second, later Greek phase is indicated by a number of Greek water basins cut in the natural rock. They are just down here. You can see traces beneath the Roman pavement of the street. The basins, the water tanks, as the later Roman ones, were running along the edge from Fountain of Apollo to the south, most likely beyond our trench, southern and maybe down here. We can see some traces of the tanks also just a few meters away south of our trench. During the early Roman period, the level of the street was raised and a set of water tanks were built over the Greek ones. And as you can see here, you can see some of the water tanks here and there that have been discovered by Italians during the 1930s and 40s. The last phase is dating back to Byzantine time and evidenced by the presence or the existence of what's so-called the Byzantine Wall, running from the cliff towards the Greek Apollonia. Also, from the Byzantine period, we could attribute the later water tanks built by limestone blocks. Some beautiful artifacts have been recovered from the excavations, such as coins and Greek full lamps, as you can see here. A detailed report about our excavation is coming soon. What I have just narrated now, just a quick report and results that still need to be approved by analysis the recovered data from the site and by doing more investigations in the area. And we hope to come back to the site very soon with other students, maybe just after Ramadan. So Eusperides, or the ancient Benghazi, was my next stop. There, at the request of the Department of Antiquity, I have participated with Dr. Cyrenaica as a consultant for the Department of Antiquity team led by Hani Al-Abdali, the controller of Benghazi, in their evaluation trenches in the area that are located as shown in the map to the south of Sidi Abeid Mound. So this is the Sidi Abeid Mound of Eusperides, and this is the new cemetery here, and this is the site of the trenches. And here's some detailed image or map for the site. So the main purpose of the trenches was to search for any archaeological evidence in the area targeted for investment by the landowner family. Out of 58 trenches that have been excavated in the site, as you can see here in this photo, there are the one in red here with numbers are the trenches that we have excavated using a GCP machine. Over of that, 85 archaeological remains were uncovered only in 4 trenches, which is ET 32, 33, 35, and 36 that are located in this area here. The archaeological remains are presented in a compacted floor, as you can see here, made of a mixture of a clay soil, pottery shells, and smooth stones, some of which were burned. As you can see here, Saleh is trying to clean the water over the compacted soil floor in this area. This floor was found at a depth ranging between 0.80 meter and 1.10 meters. The maximum width of it was like 40 centimeters. Ancient pottery was hardly existed in the layers above the floor. Conversely, beneath the floor that we have partially penetrated, a good number of coarse and fine Greek pottery have been noticed and collected, and some of it you can see here some early black glazed, attic black glazed wares. In general, it appears that this floor is a part of a street extending from, as you can see, extending from southwest to the northwest in the direction of what we call part A, which is there. And it is just in the same location that has been identified in the British map from 1940s. Here, as you can see, there's traces of streets that has been illustrated in the map from 1940s. And we found traces of our floor, this one here, just in the middle between the two black lines here. This floor, probably part of the street that extended from the southwest to the northeast, as they say, in the direction of just to the south of the Sidi Abeid Mount, which that needs more investigations by making similar trenches in that section along the same extension in our section here. So we need to do more work in this area to see if there's any extension of the same floor or street to that direction. This work has been conducted by a number of Department of Antiquities East, people coming from different departments, from Benghazi, Tokra, Tilmais, Cyrenaica, and Tobruk. And it was a great chance for them to refresh and update their skills on survey and evaluation trenches methods. The rest of the trenches, over 50 or 55 trenches, were full of modern dumped rubbish like cars and trucks, tires, and plastic stuff and cans. Some of them are quite from 1970s and 1960s, as we knew by like expiry dates and some drink cans. So now time to move to another project. So to the Cyrenaica coastal survey. This is one of the projects that I love so much. So as you all know, that the coast of Cyrenaica, in particular the area between Tokra and Lathroun, is one of the richest coastal sites in the whole Libya, with archaeological remains from prehistoric times up to through the Greek, Roman, Byzantine, early Islamic, up to the Ottomanic and Italian periods. So the rich and diverse cultural heritage sites in this area, and as other areas in Libya, are increasingly under threat of damage or destruction caused by human activities and natural causes. These include housing and industrial development, harbor expansion, tourist development, looting, erosion, and exacerbating effects of climate change. The Cyrenaica Coastal Survey is a collaborative project between the Libyan Department of Antiquity in the East and the Maritime and Digital Archaeology Project. This project is coordinated and managed by Julie Nicholas of the University of Leicester and Fuad Mahdi from the Department of Antiquities. This survey focuses on the documentation of endangered maritime cultural heritage along the coast of Cyrenaica. During the first two phases that we have conducted so far, we concentrate on recording threats and damages to sites along the current shoreline up to 1 kilometer inland, and on the sites that are now located underwater. As you can see in these three maps here, two stages has been conducted so far. The first that took place in last December, when Dr. Muhammad Abdrabba led a team from the Department of Antiquity to survey the area between Ficus and Al-Ugla, where the condition of over 14 main sites and 58 subsites have been assessed. The second stage was conducted in the second half of March this year, and targeted the area between Apollonia and Ficus. Fuad Mahdi and his team have managed to record and assess the condition of 31 sites and 20 subsites. As shown in the first stage report that has been written by Dr. Muhammad Abdrabba, during the both stages, that number of factors have been noticed that damaging the sites that include the wave damage that can lead to the erosion of archaeological materials located close to the sea, and other possible other factors. The human factor is the possible looting attempt in some sites that have been noticed in the first stage of the survey. Other examples were recorded for building and development in the area between Al-Hamama or Ficus and Al-Ugla, and also examples of a continued use of archaeological features and animal grazing recorded in the first stage as well. So all of these images and maps are gathered from a publication of the results in ArcGIS map website. In the second phase, we were able to use drones to record some sites, and particularly sites that are reachable or difficult to reach. So Fouad Ligmati used his own drone to record, to do air photos for recording purposes, but also for creating 3D models and photogrammetry recordings later. During both stages, the underwater team have managed to record some submerged archaeological features. Despite the cold December water, the brave underwater team dived in the first phase at 3 sites. During the second phase, the weather and sea conditions have not been suitable for diving. However, our colleagues managed to explore and record the archaeological remains in 2 sites, namely Aulad Sidi Nuh and Sail Amr between Apollonia and Ficus. Sorry for bothering you with this, but yesterday we learned that our colleague, one of our underwater team member, Rajab, in the middle, passed away after a serious injury while diving in the Ras Al Hilal area. So it's a big loss. So please let me dedicate this work for his memory. So in every site, in addition to filling out the survey sheets and taking GPS marks, diagnostic sheets have been collected mainly for dating purposes. So thanks for our colleague Faraj Al-Aghili, who supervised this part of the survey. So here we can see the first and the second phase of survey teams from different departments of antiquities in Cyrenaica. And just to let you know that more information about the first stage is published, and this can be reached on this link down here. And the report of the second stage is in progress. We just finished the work. So, last but not least, I would like to say something about my work with ASOR, with American Society of Overseas Research. My relationship with ASOR has started when I visited their office in Washington, D.C. area and met with Dr. Andrew Vaughan, the executive director, and a number of his wonderful staff. This was in January 2020 during my visit and my family there, which we talked about earlier in this presentation. Since that visit, ASOR granted me its membership, and I became their representative in Cyrenaica. I've started my work with ASOR by recording some short videos about the Libyan archaeological heritage, one of which was filmed during the recent excavation of Cyrenaica and available on the ASOS YouTube channel and website. So it's just trying to focus on the role of the woman in the protection of the Libyan cultural heritage. Hello, everyone. Sorry, something I need to see. Okay. So also it was a great honor for me to in November 2020 to present in the virtual annual meeting of ASOR. My presentation was, as you can see in this slide, about it's a brief account on the threats and damages to the road sites in Cyrenaica. Also, I participated with colleagues from Libya and ASOR in some discussion sessions about the Libyan cultural heritage during that conference. Also, it was a great honor for me too to contribute in the preparation of the ASOS report titled "The State Illicit Trade and Looting of the Libyan Antiquities" between 2011 and 21. This report that supported by the U.S. Embassy to Libya External Office, LEO, aims, as stated in the introduction of the report, to identify patterns in the illicit excavations and antiquities trade that continue despite the efforts of local authorities. And second, to identify ways in which additional efforts and resources by both Libyan authorities and by international partners might prevent and counter this trade. It's a great effort made by our colleagues in ASOR, and it was a great honor for me and my colleague Talal and some of other colleagues, Dr. Khadir Haddar and some others, Dr. Ahmed Hussein, Dr. Muhammad Shakshuki, to take part in this one. So it's a great thing to look at if you haven't already done. You can download it for free from the ASOS website. So the Cyrenaica survey is ASOS coming project in Cyrenaica that is kindly sponsored by the U.S. State Department Ambassador Fund for Cultural Preservation, which is known as AFPP. This damage and risk assessment survey is a cooperative work between ASOR and the Libyan Department of Antiquities. The first stage of this project is to conduct, hopefully during Ramadan, satellite analysis and GIS mapping by ASOR and Libyan partners. Based on the satellite analysis, the Department of Antiquity survey team will carry out late May, early June this year, a damage and risk assessment survey of areas that satellite imagery identified as possible being damaged by urban encroachment and or looting. Damage identified by satellite imagery will be checked by the ground team, who will also complete further documentation using drone imagery and photogrammetry recordings to build out a GIS data set that can be used for future monitoring. So this project, the survey project will take place in the area between Cyrenaica and Al-Qubba, and it will be divided into two parts. The first part of this phase to survey the area between Cyrenaica and Lamlouda, and the second one, the area between Lamlouda and Al-Qubba. So our remote sensing team will start very soon to locate the sites and try to assess their condition, and we will, after Ramadan, go there and check the sites, try to record invisible sites for satellite images. Thanks for the State Department and the U.S. Ambassador Fund for their generosity funding this project. So the same project, Cyrenaica Al-Qubba survey project, will also have some outreach activities. Based on the Dawa East Heritage for All campaign that has been started in 2017, the Department of Antiquities wishes to host 6 additional events in 2021 in Cyrenaica. A good number of leaflets and outreach booklets and sites guides in color written by Dr. Khalid Haddar and others will be printed and freely distributed among the local communities during that event. So as you can see in these photos here, some photos from 2017 and 2018, where some outreach activity conducted by the Department of Antiquity in Jabal Akhdar area, where you can see here students or people of schools enjoying looking at leaflets and small booklets and have some coloring books to color. It was a great campaign, and we are very happy that we will be able to continue working on this. That's it for today, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. So I'm Correspondent, Director of the Society for Libyan Studies, and I'm going to be leading the panel discussion after Ahmed's wonderful talk. But before we do that, I think, Ahmed, I'd like to say on behalf of the Society, and I think everybody here, how sorry we are to hear about your colleague who passed away yesterday. And you know, our deepest condolences for that. But now I think it's time to turn to the questions. And so I invite everybody who has a question for Ahmed about some of this fascinating work to post it in the Q&A session, and then we'll go through. Now, we've already got one question from David Mattingly, who says it's fantastic to hear about all of this new field work in Libya. He also is very sorry to hear about your colleague's diving accident. He says that the work with Maria looks really important in terms of the condition assessment that you're doing, particularly given the amount of erosion on the coast at the moment. But he wonders if you can tell us a bit more about the sorts of sites that have been discovered by your survey. And then what do you think are the most serious threats to this coastal heritage at present?
Okay, so thank you very much. Is this question from David? Yeah. Nice to hear from you, David. I hope everything is going well with you. So in the Maria Cyrenaica Coastal Survey in the first stage, I have joined the last 3 days actually, that led by my colleague Mohammed Abdrabba in the area. So most of the sites that they visited there have been already documented by a number of archaeologists in the past and in the near future, very recent by Mohammed Hussein Bianco in his PhD survey, and by myself in my PhD, and also some by Ahmed Zayan and some by others as well. So it's the main aim of this survey is not to re-record sites, but it's to assess their conditions. But if there's any new sites, of course, that it's be good to record them. So the types of sites in the area between Al-Ubla and Ficus, most of the sites there are with industrial features. Some of them are like have olive presses and wine production facilities like vats and crushing floors. And also we noticed that at that site, I noticed actually from my PhD research that there are some fortified farms as well in that area. As you know, Ficus is one of the large harbors in Cyrenaica, and it's a quite big site. It could be considered as a village, and kind of Al-Ubla as well. In the area between Apollonia and Ficus, this area has also been documented by Touza, for example, from Italy, by Francois Chameau in 1950s, by some French archaeologists, and also by Dr. Salah Gab in his research in the area in 1990s, maybe late 1990s. Lots of sites have been recorded there, but we have managed to record new sites in the second stage of the survey. Again, the so the sites located in that region are mainly, again, industrial, with industrial features such as vats and water tanks and also, but also as you know that Mohammed Hussein Bianco has recorded for the first time some pottery kilns in the site, and we believe that we may discover a couple of pottery kilns in our survey as well. So, the report is in progress, and we hope to finish it as soon as we possibly can. So we'll see. So they are fantastic sites, beautiful archaeology, and the main threats. The second part of your questions about the main threat is the erosion and sea waves. So most of the sites are located just by the sea, as you saw from the pictures. There are some sites like like Awlad Nuh site. The north face of that site is largely damaged by sea waves, and we can see from the top of the blocks that there are some archaeological features underwater. Erosion of pottery artifacts and other artifacts from the south to the north due to the flooding. As you can see in that area, there are lots of wadis running from south to north, and water in its way to the sea displace the archaeological materials from the upper parts of the Jabal down to the coast. So this is what we've noticed as well. So yeah, in the area between Al-Hamama and Ficus and Al-Ugla, the urban development is the main threat. But in the area between Apollonia and Ficus, due to the rough road, it is not easy to go there. So we need four-wheel drive car sometimes to go there. Due to that, so most of the site is still away from the human factors. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. It sounds like the report you're working on is going to be really important in two ways, both for these new sites that you've discovered, but also in identifying some of these threats to the coast. So we've got some more questions now. The next one is from Philip Sharp, who was resident in Libya between 1974 and 1984, and he really enjoyed your presentation. And what he wants to know is, when he was in Libya, he often saw that old excavations, the trenches hadn't been stabilized, and then when there was high rainfall, this would cause a lot of erosion. And he noted that this was particularly the case in the Temple of Demeter at Cyrene. So he's wondering, what about now? What sort of new management plans are there on these sites or in new excavations to preserve and protect the trenches that have been exposed, or are they being backfilled now?
Yeah, that's really good point. So as far as I know, there is no clear plan for that now, but it's really important thing to do. So it's we try not to excavate in this time in Libya. We try just to protect what we have over the ground. But sometimes we have to train our students as part of their academic stuff. So they need to do some field work and excavations in particular sites. But yes, so as I said, the Department of Antiquity, the restoration team of the Department of Antiquity at Cyrene are doing their best. So at the site, they are trying always to change the course of water, rainwater away from the exposed trenches and from the other archaeological material that may negatively impact by flooding, water flooding. So as I said in the lecture, what they have done in Sanctuary of Apollo at Cyrene is exceptional thing, and it has to be published and known by everyone. They spend long hours just to protect the site, just because they love the site, not for any other reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these threats obviously are threats that affect archaeological sites across the world, but particularly in the Mediterranean. I think one thing that is worth noting for those who don't know so much about what our Libyan colleagues have been doing is, as Ahmad said, there's loads of so much work has been put into trying to protect these sites with the limited resources there are, but also in doing things like reburying mosaics, which are obviously also at risk. And I think in this regard, certainly in North Africa, Libya is really at the forefront of protecting a lot of exposed sites by really trying to rebury, you know, exposed ruins where possible. And I think this is something that you and your colleagues should be really complimented on, because this is obviously a massive problem on particularly classical sites. But we have more questions. So Nicolo Muñay says, thank you for such a great talk, and you know, all the fascinating work that you are doing at the moment. And he wants to know if you're planning to do any further excavations within the city of Cyrene, and he's particularly interested, I think, in the longue durée and how spaces and buildings changed over time.
Okay, so Cyrene was always my dream site to excavate there. So my first excavation there was the one that I just showed, and so it's a train excavation. So it's the Department of Antiquity just gave us a place that has been already excavated by the Italians in the past, and the restoration work, as you can see there, the modern ones. But I just heard 2 days ago from the Department of Archaeology at Mohammed bin Ali Sanusi University at Ruwaida that they have students who have to do some excavations soon, and we heard it's nothing different, but we heard that we may be given a location in the Acropolis of Cyrene to excavate, which is the biggest responsibility, of course, but it would be nice to do that. So yeah, and in Tokra also we will have some train excavations soon. Yeah, so yes, so we have lots of people who are interested in working in excavations in the main cities of Cyrenaica.
It's really exciting to hear.
Yeah.
I've got 2 questions on coastal villas, one from Graham Barker and one from Ahmed Biziane. And Graham wants to know whether this is more about the impact of urban encroachment on villa sites. And he asks, has the coastal villa building extending east from Shahat Apollonia reached as far as the Hawa Fatea, or is the cave being protected? Sorry, I've completely misread this question. So let me change. There's 2 questions about urban encroachment. So Graham wants to know about the protection of Hawa Fatea cave and whether the coastal villa building that was going on has reached the cave or not. And then Hafid Walder would like to know whether you're quantifying the damage incurred by urban encroachment on the coast.
Okay, the first one, hi Graham. The cave is still fine so far. I haven't been there for a while, but during the second stage of our survey at Apollonia, I met Mr. Talal Wairi, the controller of Apollonia, you can say. And he wrote to me actually before that, telling me that our trench inside the cave that we backfilled for Bennett and others 2017, so the soil got lower. So, and he said there's a risk of the destruction of the sections or something like that. But we spoke to Ahmed Hussein about that, and he promised that the Department of Antiquity will do something to fill the gaps and the pits in the trench. The cave is still guarded by Mr. Salim and still in use by him for his animal. As far as I know, there are no developments, no buildings around the cave itself, but I can say that there are some more structures like rest houses being built now in between Apollonia and the Hawa, particularly close to the sea. But the cave itself is still in safe hands with Mr. Salim and his sons and his animals.
Great. And Hafid asked, have you been able to quantify the damage incurred by the urban encroachment, or is that something for later?
Yeah, we did actually. So as I said, we have some people who are very good at analyzing data using GIS mapping. So we are trying to collect data from the first stage and the second stage of the survey to create GIS maps to identify types of threats that these sites are facing. And in terms of the development, yes, in the area between, particularly within Ficus, it's a great. I mean, the development there is greatly damaging the site, and some sites were completely covered by new houses. Completely covered by new houses. You can see traces of ancient tombs used as basis for or foundations of new houses at that area. Some sites have been completely bulldozed and dumped near the sea. You can see the building materials there. But in the area, again, the area between Apollonia and Ficus, no one is there. So most of the sites are fine so far. So yes, we are going to document and publish something about the urban development in the region. So we recorded sites, and we are going to analyze the data soon. So my colleague Fad Lukmadi and some of my other teams, the other team members will start during Ramadan to create the maps, and we'll coordinate with Julia Nicholas to publish something about our work very soon. And thanks for Society for Libyan Studies, by the way, for funding, for their funding for that. And of course, we will publish something in the next volume, hopefully, journal.
Yes, absolutely.
Not this one, maybe the 2021, 2022.
Philip has another question related to this, and then we'll go to Ahmed's question about the archaeology. Philip, again, thanks you for your interesting report, and just wonders quickly, do you have any information about the planned container port at Apollonia? I think
the container port, you mean the new harbor?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the one that, during the, last few months, we've seen the governor of Libya or the prime minister visiting the site and with some people, and we heard some in the news in TV that the project is in progress. But if you go to the site there, you'll see nothing. So the plan is still there, but nothing being done on the ground about it. So the Department of Antiquity did their work, their job, evaluating the site, trying to record the archaeological features in the site, and they created some GIS maps. So the archive department of Department of Antiquity at Cyrenaica has some recordings and data about the site, but nothing is happening now. Nothing happened in the last few months. No.
Ahmed Bouziane asks, he's very sorry about your colleague's accident, and he asks whether you found coastal villas of the type similar to those in Tripolitania or not.
Not sure, but one of the sites that has already been recorded by Muhammad Hussein and maybe by earlier scholars, which is called Awlad Nuh, where we can see vats and some industrial features, but there is building built with fine ashlar blocks, and looks like from limestone, sandstone, and they look like it looks like the ones that we usually see in the Tripolitanian coastal zone. Maybe my colleague Salim Mujannat, Ahmed, our colleague Salim Mujannat, in his survey 2 years ago, it's called Tabas Ptolemais, Tokrab Ptolemais Archaeological Survey, he discovered something like that. I haven't been with him that day, but he told me that he discovered something find something with mosaic floors and stuff like that. Looks like a Roman villa, very similar to those you usually find in Britannia here. But nothing confirmed yet.
That sounds exciting. So we have two more questions, and then we'll close because we're sort of running out of time. They're both on the politics of funding in Libya at the moment. The first is by Ben Lawton, who's from the British Council of Libya, and he would like you, wonders whether you might provide some insight into how the new government of national unity is affecting how the two Department of Antiquities are operating. And the related question by our colleague Salim Mayer, who you know on the council, who again is very sorry about your colleague. He noticed that many of the projects that you're involved in are funded primarily from international sources from outside Libya. And he just wants to know what, you know, what sort of funding there is within Libya for archaeology at the present, and whether the political class is interested in cultural heritage or not. So two similar yes. Questions.
Yes, I got that. We hope that we are going to have, we already have one government now, and we hope to see the cultural heritage managed by one organization in Libya again. Well, we have no idea who's going to be the head of the department. It doesn't matter for me, but what we know that we will have one department antiquity very soon, maybe in 2 months' time or something like that. And yes, most of the archaeological projects that we are conducting in Libya in the recent years, since like 2015 or so, funded by the external organizations, international institutions and organizations. Department of Antiquity in both Britannia and Cyrenaica trying their best to sponsor some minor projects with their limited budget. The problem with the government, both governments in Cyrenaica and Britannia, and I have no idea about the new government, it's still new, but they didn't show a big interest in cultural heritage. So they believe that cultural heritage can wait, to wrongly believe that. Yes, so we hope that our new government would support the cultural heritage. So it's, you know, the situation is really bad from the surveys that we are conducting in the area. So we need to educate people about the importance of their cultural heritage. So thanks for the international organizations, thanks for Society of Libyan Studies, for the State Department, US State Department Ambassadors Cultural Preservation Fund for their support, for ASO for their great work fighting illicit trafficking of Libyan antiquities. Thanks for the Training in Action project. In our surveys now, we can trust in our staff of the Department of Antiquity that they can record archaeological material using techniques that they learned from EMINA and Training in Action projects from the British funded projects as well. Thank you very much. So, I mean, if there's any other questions, so if you still have time, then.
I think we've had the last question. So I mean, there's so many people I can see in the attendees who know you and have worked with you or at Leicester. So I'm sure that they, like me, would like to sort of thank you for giving such a wonderful talk and for all the amazing work that you and your colleagues are doing at the moment in these really difficult conditions. You said when we were chatting at the beginning that things are looking much more optimistic for the future, and it sounds that way indeed. So I hope that next time some of us will be able to come and see you in Libya, and that you will be able to come to the UK. But for now, I think just thank you from us, from the Society for Libyan Studies. And it's been really kind of you to beam in all the way from Libya. And I just want to say that Andrea says, thank you for taking him back to some of the happiest days of his life exploring Cyrenaica. And there are so many comments like that in the chat, thanking you for reminding us of how wonderful Libya, Cyrenaica is, because it's been far too long since we were all able to visit and see our friends there. So thank you, Ahmed, from all of us. And a final announcement for everyone here. Our next talk will be on the 11th of May on water management and resilience in the Near East and North Africa by Dr. Louise Rain, who is currently at Newcastle. So please sign up or for that event, and we look forward to seeing you there. But thank you once more, Ahmed, for a fantastic talk, and it was really nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Oh, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Corey, for saying names of all the friends. So I mean, I can't see them, but I can read their words in the chat. So it's really nice to meet all of you guys virtually, though. But it's really nice, and I hope to see you soon in Libya, back to work, and to have some manjaria, Andrew Wilson, in Benghazi from Mr. Roma. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Society for Libyan Studies, for this big opportunity for me to be with all of you. And I'm so glad that you liked the presentation, and I hope that I've done my best to bring you up to date with the archaeological activities that my colleagues and I are trying to do to protect our cultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you.